Hi, it's Paola. So today I thought I would share with you a little bit about how I find inspiration, what gets me inspired, and a little bit of my creative process. I think what really gets me started in finding inspiration or, finding that space of creativity in my head is honestly just getting up, getting ready in the morning. Clothes and makeup and all of that really affects my mood. I love getting dressed in the morning. I love feeling put together because if I'm not getting dressed, I feel like I'm not living. I feel like I'm not gonna be productive that day because I'm in sweatpants or whatever. And I just really like getting myself together and exploring the fun part of fashion and makeup because that really brightens my mood, puts me into the creative headspace. I'm choosing colors already. I'm choosing, I'm styling myself. I'm choosing what eyeshadow to put on, how to do things today. It's already like getting my creativity going. You know what I mean? A big thing that gets me inspired is magazines, whether that be like in-person print magazines or online publications. I'm always looking for what's going on, or even like vintage magazines, like what was going on. I just find inspiration and like find ideas from all of that, just having some sort of visual to look through. I feel like magazines are my favorite thing to actually hold because you see all of the work that went into it, like all of the layouts, and then also whatever the content is, like it just is so exciting to look at and really feel like you're thrown into it, I also utilize Instagram because Instagram, when I go on every day, it can get overwhelming. Yes, you have to kind of push past all of the craziness and all of the people just like trying to be something they're not. I don't know. Instagram's a weird place sometimes, but it is great for finding like art, illustrators, people to follow that you just look up to. Like honestly, I'm so inspired when I follow all these people that have like jobs that I want or are just like in cool positions doing cool work that maybe I would never think to do. It's just cool to like actually see that every day and what they're posting in their day-to-day life, and just I don't know, something about it just really inspires me. And I know that Instagram can get overwhelming for some people, like social media can get overwhelming, but there's something about it for me that just like I'm like, oh yes, you do you, girl. Like I'm following you. I'm seeing all that cool content you're putting out there and just seeing what people create and what they post, and it makes me want to do better in my own work. I'm like, oh, I should be working. Like, oh, they're posting cool illustrations today. Maybe I should be doing something today, So that is definitely a very helpful thing for me. Sometimes I do need a break from social media, but it's kind of not possible in this day and age, and also not possible for my interests. I'm like, listen, I want to make YouTube videos, I want to go on Instagram, I want to do it all, so I never take a break. Another way I personally get inspired, which I would say this is some advice I can impart on you, is find something that's outside of your normal creative process and things that you do, like the work that you do, and find something that you're interested in and just start doing that. So personally, at the beginning of the year in January, I made a resolution to always have a disposable camera always on me. And then David Dobrik had to go ahead and make his little David's disposable thing, and now it's like a big trend, I'm assuming, with all the YouTube people. But I was doing it before him, okay? But a disposable camera is so much fun because it gets me out of what I'm normally doing. I'm definitely not a photographer, but it's fun to experiment with like film and just having this on hand and deciding to be inspired when I'm walking around and just taking photos of interesting things and making memories with people. And honestly, that is something that totally puts me in a creative mood, and it just is a great process to do, is get out of your comfort zone, do something different. Photography on this little disposable is my something different. Now, I've gotten a lot of requests to talk about my creative process, and in truth, I don't really understand what that means. I'm like, for me, what is my creative process? I'm not sure how I can really explain that. I don't go about things the same way every time, and I feel like I'm still young and still finding my place as an artist and as a designer. I feel like I can still expand and change all the time. So it's a hard question to answer, but let me give it a shot. So my creative process starts with failure, honestly. I put myself into the creative headspace. I start working on something, and usually I hate everything I'm making, or I don't have any ideas and I start, and then I'm just like, what is this? This is horrible. But I think that helps me kind of push through the barrier of wanting to create or not having any ideas, and it pushes me into a space of thinking, okay, how can I problem solve? How can I do this specific thing that's in my head in a better way? You know, it's just figuring out what works for you, and it really starts with me putting my pen onto paper, which is not a fun thing when you're just thinking about it. You're like, I don't want to sit down and do this. Maybe that's just me, but it's like, it's hard to, you know, push through that unless I have a really strong idea that I'm excited about. I get nervous, and that's just me. Like, I just get nervous. But I think it is so important to fail a few times and get right back up and keep creating and keep making. And I feel like I do that when I create my work, and I just need to explore more. And this is like something that I can tell you, giving you advice, but it's also advice for myself. Like, just keep going and you'll find a place to be that feels good in your process. Typically I start with sketching something out, or if I'm starting digitally, I create some sort of type or image thing. I put it together, and then I think, okay, what can I make from here? Or like, what is the purpose of this? From there, I typically get lost for a few hours in the tiny little details that are usually type related. And then I like to do stuff like editorial stuff. So I like to do layout and figuring out what's best to do there. And I really get sucked into a project when I'm doing it, and I kind of forget about everything else. I think what's important to my process is really the planning part of drawing, and it's not just drawing to draw. As you know, I'm not an illustrator in any means, but I do plan things out very like systematically. Like, this was for a tea package rebrand, so I really planned that out with like measurements, and I feel like my sketches are my diagrams, and then I work from it and put it into the digital space. This is from a class in my freshman year of college, but I took photos and I put them into the book to remember things about this interview I really liked, about this project. So I feel like that's a really good process that I definitely need to do more, but I'm always taking photos. Like, when I go to museums and I really like a piece, I always take photos of the description, or if they have more stuff about the artist. I like to know the ins and outs of that. So I feel like that's something that is important to me that I put down into a place, a specific place, to start working from there. I also like to see where my mind goes with ideas, and usually it takes a little turn from what I was originally thinking, and I kind of like that. Like, with a lot of my work that you've seen, that I've shown you, or that we've created together on these videos, I feel like it's sort of diverged into something different, or something a little like weird or gross. Like my bubblegum type, I always use that as an example, just because I love where my idea went with that. I love where my brain went with that, and I feel like things like that challenge me to become a better designer, because I feel like I could play it safe, or I could go with the themes and topics that I'm always like into, or like you'd think I'd be into as a person, like as my personality. Like, I remember in school we had a rebrand project, and I picked 3 companies that like I did not expect to pick. Like, you'd think with my personality maybe I'd pick something in fashion or beauty or something, but then I ended up picking like 3 nonprofits, and was like interested in the organization side, and I was like, yeah, I could rebrand something like that, and I was brainstorming all those types of things. And it was like really surprising for me personally when I saw it, because I'm like, wow, did I just come up with that? Like, why did I come up with that? Like, who am I? But that kind of stuff is what I like, because it reminds me how creative I can be and the direction I can take things, and it's actually more exciting for me to take things that way because it's not typical and it's just fun, and from there I'll roll with it and see what I come up with. Okay, so that was my inspiration, where I find it, how I find it, my creative process, a little insight more into how I work, and hopefully you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what helps you find inspiration, whether it be a magazine, a website, an Instagram account, anything really, because I want to check it out too. So let me know, and also subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.